your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
With Rob Breaux is in for Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. Tomorrow is an exciting day. Rob, you're not going to be with us tomorrow. Sneed will be with me tomorrow.
Let's get ready to handshake.
I think Jamie planned his trip away from us, wherever he is. He could be on the moon for all we know. To be away from me for the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce Business Expo. It's one of the best days of the year, and I'm curious. I don't know why they've done this. It seems very odd to me, very strange to me, that they have delayed the opening of this thing until 11 tomorrow. I mean, if you're going to do it, do it. Get out there, get early, get amongst them. Get out there, morning coffee.
Business hours.
Business hours, right? I mean, think we could have opened it at 8, and had a little breakfast with us.
Yeah.
Breakfast with the Morning Drive. Come by, get a biscuit, shake a hand, cup of coffee. Maybe a breakfast slice of pizza, a donut, kolache,
now you're talking.
Tamale. I mean, whole cadre of things.
A tamale for breakfast.
And I had tamales in the refrigerator this morning that I was going to bring for a little snack after the show, and I forgot to bring them. That's an error on my part.
There's no such time as a bad time for a tamale.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir there.
Yeah, there's no bad time.
One of those trunk tamales?
The what?
A trunk tamale.
A trunk?
Yeah, the lady that goes around selling tamales.
Oh, the trunk. Trunk tamale. Okay, yeah, the trunk tamale. I don't think I'd heard that term. At
my first full-time job back in the early days, we had a lady that came by and would sell out of a little cooler. Uh-huh. But I haven't got the hookup since, so I've been missing the trunk tamales.
The trunk tamales. I'm sure that
those are the best ones.
I'm sure they're out there. So anyway, tomorrow, hopefully, you'll make it out to the Business Expo over at the Civic Center, which is directly across the street from us, and shake a hand, give a business card, see what's happening in your world. So, looking forward to it tomorrow. Usually the Battery Joe guys are there, and I get some batteries. It's basically your opportunity to get some school supplies. Pins,
sure.
Knickknacks. There's always something new, something kind of stress balls. Stuff like that.
Maybe a little pad of paper.
Little, things, the little Post-it notes, that kind of stuff, if you're out of those kinds of things. But make sure you do some business with people as well, because these are local folks just like us that just trying to make a living here in Lubbock, Texas, USA. So we'll be at the Civic Center tomorrow with the Morning Drive from 6 to 9. We'll talk about what's going on and try to encourage you to come out and support the chamber and support the businesses that are down there and see some of your friends. Pepsi Man's on the move this morning. He says, good morning from West Point, Georgia. Just wanted to say have a great day. We'll have a great day for you as well, Pepsi Man. Great day yesterday for the Red Raider basketball team, Rob, as they're getting closer and closer to having a full roster. They may be a player or two away from being done. And here we are, not even to the end of May yet, but they signed JT Toppin. This has been rumored for quite some time. He's a young man who played at New Mexico last year, had dabbled with maybe going into the NBA draft, started all 36 games, averaged 12.4 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 1.9 blocks per game. Your thoughts on JT Toppin?
This is a top 5 transfer according to most. FMI.com was saying top 3 potentially transfer in the market. Surefire NBA guy. One of the first you've had on this roster in 3 or 4 years that you've had a surefire NBA guy on the roster.
Would you go back to 2019 and Jared Culver?
Yeah, I think maybe Jamias Ramsey was kind of that prospect.
Mm-hmm.
But Mac McClung even, but those are guards. Probably Jarrett Culver was the last kind of guard forward that you would put into the JT Toppin role. Toppin more of a front court player. He's going to be in the middle. He's going to start for Texas Tech. He's going to be a surefire starter. I don't know that all the transfers you would say that about. Elijah Hawkins probably is a starter. Really good pickup. Second straight Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year you've tabbed. Darian Williams, also a Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year. So go ahead and lock in next year's Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year as a Red Raider in year 2 of his college career.
You think so?
Yeah. You got a pipeline now.
You got a pipeline. Was he heavily recruited out of high school?
I don't know. I think he was a high-level prospect. I think he surprised some people last year at New Mexico is how good he was. And people are saying he hasn't really hit his ceiling yet. I think he was kind of a late bloomer.
6'9", 210, averaged almost 4 offensive rebounds per game. You like that, just because you get some second chance opportunities. And certainly with the way that you shot the ball, at times there's going to be offensive rebound opportunities, although you're going to have a lot of new players on your roster. This is certainly an upgrade for the Red Raiders, this roster this year from a year ago.
Yeah, I think so. And somebody asked yesterday if this was a better roster than last year. I think that's a pretty easy answer. Yes. But it's a different roster because last year you had the Pop Isaac show. And this year I feel like you're going to be able to be a little more efficient maybe in the offense and not just have one guy have, 40% of the shots. I think you'll spread it around a little more this year, which will be interesting to see. It's a different kind of offense. And I think your defense will be better. I think you're bigger, a little bit longer. Of course, health matters because Warren Washington was that guy last year and he just didn't play much in the back half of the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, he got to a point where you really, really needed him and finally got some action in the NCAA tournament. But it's almost kind of akin to what happened with the Red Raider baseball team, in Trendon Parish, in that, man, you could have used him, and finally got him healthy enough where he could pitch, and you saw what he could do in the Big 12. But the bats just wouldn't wake up. But he certainly brought it. But you kind of do the old wonder, what if Warren Washington had been healthier? Would you have won that? Would you have had won more games to maybe have a better seeding going into the NCAA tournament? And then, what happens from there? Could you make a Sweet 16? Could you make an Elite 8? All those kinds of things. Of course, we've kind of come to expect just getting to the tournament. There were times when we just hoped that we could contend for games, at that place, at the arena. Now we're to the point where just getting to the tournament isn't enough, and maybe even though you only had a handful of Sweet 16s, getting to the Sweet 16 doesn't seem to be enough either, and that's okay. This fan base, this team, this university is very hungry for the basketball program.
There's a lot of analytic models in college basketball. You have Ken Palm, you have the Torvik guy. Where would you say the roster is in the Big 12 pecking order for Texas Tech, 1 to 6, according to those models?
According to those models, based on how you set this up, I'm going to say 3 or higher. Fourth.
Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, basically 1, 2, 3 in the nation, and then Texas Tech 15th in the nation, 4th in the Big 12.
Well, and you start looking at the Big 12, and you look at it from a basketball standpoint, and you go, you mentioned those 3 schools there, but then, by the way, Baylor, by the way, Arizona that's coming into the league.
They're 17th.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a crazy, crazy league. And I think it also speaks to the investment you're willing to make in your basketball program, because this young man did not come cheap. 7 figures is what's out there, right?
Yeah. Allegedly,
reportedly. And but you're happy to have him because he's going to make a big difference. He's probably a one-and-done guy.
Yeah. If everything goes correctly, yes.
If everything goes
you would prefer him to be.
Swimmingly.
Yeah.
6:25 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Get your thoughts, your comments on this Red Raider basketball program and team as in the offseason here. Don't have a schedule yet. Don't have a full roster yet, but Sure looks like it's going to be an exciting fall and into the winter for the Red Raiders.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Rob's in for Jamie this morning. Jeff's here. I'm here. So most of the gang is here. So we'll look forward to hearing from you today. All right, Rob. So of the guys that you've already added, you added JT Toppin yesterday to your basketball roster. He joins Kristen Anderson, Leon Horner III, Elijah Hawkins, Federico, and Kevin Overton to the mix. Who will make the biggest impact, and who will play the most minutes in addition to Toppin out of that list?
Hawkins. Hawkins will be your starting point guard. He's from Minnesota. His assist rate is in the top of the percentiles in the country. He's a much different player than Toussaint or Pop Isaacs, who were the ball dominant guys last year. He is a facilitator. He's a pass first guy. He can shoot, but he's going to be facilitating to Overton and Kerwin Walton, and maybe even down low to Toppin and Federico, who's an alley-oop guy.
I like that.
So you might get the Lob City back that you had several years ago.
And with regard to your point guard and Hawkins, he's going to be a true point guard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something you haven't had on this roster since John Robertson, maybe. I mean, you've had a lot of combo guards come through that have been good facilitators. Keenan Evans, one of them. But you've spent years with Jarrett Culver, with Kevin McCullough as the point guard in that one season.
Guys that, to a certain degree, playing a little bit out of position or playing maybe a little bit uncomfortable because they would rather be a shooter first than a distributor first.
Yeah, and it worked. You were good in those 2 seasons. That was probably your 2 or your 3 best seasons in the last decade. But it'll be a refreshing change of pace to have a true point guard, which is something that you've not had very often.
And this is probably something that's right classic in terms of the type of offense that Grant McCaslin wants to run.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to be a lot closer to his style this year, which we expected one style coming in last year, and he didn't really get that. You got more of the Dave Smart offense, and I wonder if this is closer to what that wants to be, and maybe your defense improves because of it. You get a little more consistent offensively. You can control some possessions better. You can pass better, which is the key to the Dave Smart offense, is passing. And maybe that leads to more defense because it's more of a controlled pace on your end instead of, hey, this shot's open, let's crank it.
So how big a role or how big a shift will it be with McCaslin and Jeff Linder as opposed to McCaslin and Smart? Yeah,
that's a good question. I don't know. I think if the plan was with Dave Smart coming in that he was going to come give you one good year, and I don't know that was the plan. Maybe that was a long-term thinking. But if Dave Smart said, hey, I want to get back into coaching, I want to leave Canada, I want to come down and have a year with you, maybe you just said, hey, pour into us, give us all the details, give us all your playbooks, and we'll learn your offense for a season and move on, then I don't think it'll change much. If it was abrupt and he was like, all right, I've spent a year here, I'm going to go get another head coaching job, maybe not. But I think with McCaslin, he's the kind of coach that pulls in and learns and then can do it himself. So I think you'll see a similar trajectory. But again, you have different types of players, so I don't know if a change in offense is because you go from Smart to Linder as much as you go from Pop Isaacs and Joe Toussaint to a guy like Elijah Hawkins.
So with regard to a guy like Jeff Linder, I mean, it's really still somewhat surprising, but maybe it's not, of him leaving Wyoming, a head coaching job, to come to now what is a Power 4 school, and a school that is really committed to playing basketball, is making a big commitment with regard to NIL. Because, look, the number that's out there for JT Toppin is north of $1.2 million. And the number that's out there just roaming around on the street is that your basketball payroll is around $4 million and your football payroll is around $4.5 million. Are those numbers you're hearing?
I have heard those numbers, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that's a huge commitment when you think about the financial aspect of football and what it means to the athletic department. So we're talking about somewhere between, let's just say it's 85% of your revenue, or even just 80. Well, men's basketball might contribute another 10. So, and then you're looking at your NIL pool, and it's virtually equal. Now, some would say, well, you can make more of an impact with one player with basketball than you can with football. I get it. But when you have a quarterback that's going into the season where you're saying all these things about, hey, he's going to rehab his shoulder, hey, he's going to Florida, hey, he's not going to throw during spring practice, and you're in the back of all of our heads, we're going, oh, hey, is he one hit away from being done? And then are we in the Cameron Brown era, and we're in a totally different offense than what we are with Baron Morton. So it's fascinating to me. But speak to Linder and leaving a head coaching job and coming to a Power 4 school.
Yeah, well, we talked earlier about the two Mountain West freshmen of the year leaving the Mountain West Conference and coming to Texas Tech, leaving and upgrading. That is very prevalent across the Mountain West. If you have a freshman that is any good in the Mountain West, he is going to search for greener pastures, be it NIL money or just a better opportunity to be in the NCAA tournament. Now, the Mountain West has had a lot of success in the last 2 or 3 years getting to the NCAA tournament, and they've had some success getting deep into the NCAA tournament. But those NIL paychecks are coming from Kentucky and Texas Tech and Baylor, all the blue bloods, right, of college basketball. So would you rather be in a place where you can make the same amount of money or similar money and not be responsible for basically a JUCO roster at this point in the Mountain West where you have to replace every 2 years?
Because it's going to continue to get diminished.
Or would you rather be in the Power 4 as a second guy making the same money and not being responsible for that?
And maybe an opportunity, if your team is really, really successful, to get a head coaching job in a conference like the Big 12 or somewhat similar.
Absolutely.
Right? 6:40 this morning here on the Morning Drive, although he did have to take a little bit of a haircut to come here.
A little bit. But not as much as initially reported.
Yeah. 6:40 this morning on the Morning Drive. This Day in Sports History is next.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Breaux is in for Jamie Lent today. Jeff McGuire's here. I'm Chuck Heinz. Tomorrow we'll be at the Chamber Expo. You looking forward to the Business Expo tomorrow, Jeff?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here.
Be there.
I thought you were going to be with us.
No, I'm here. I'm your producer tomorrow morning. So it's get everything set up today. Mm-hmm. Listen to you guys on location.
Yeah.
When at 3 o'clock rolls around, go back out there, tear everything down.
Okay, so try to have a smiling face.
Yeah. Yay.
Not so much.
I mean, for some people, it's still a lot of work and effort, and for Chuck Heinz.
Let's get ready to handshake!
Yeah, Jamie's going to miss that tomorrow. Should we?
I don't think he's going to miss it at all.
I think it's planned. I think he planned his trip around this wherever he is, doing whatever it is that he does. I think he's planned this organized activity.
Don't think.
He just did. He doesn't want anything to do with that.
Not that he doesn't enjoy meeting people and having conversation with people, but this is not his bag.
It's not his thing, right?
This is your bag. This screams. This is Chuck Heinz' favorite day before football season.
I'm really disappointed that it's starting so late in the morning. I don't understand that. I don't understand the thought process behind that. It seems unwise to me to not wait until 11 o'clock. I mean, what the hell are you waiting for? I mean, come on, let's get this thing going. Let's open it up at 9 o'clock. That's when people are wanting to get there and anxious to go in and shake hands, kiss babies, say hello to people, ask people how business is, hey, how things are going. Anyway. All right, so Red Raider athletic teams reported on Monday to get ready for Summer 1. School is year-round for a lot of these athletes, including the guys that got here in January for spring football. But there's others that have just gotten here because of, finishing up where they were or coming in as high school freshmen. So who of the guys that arrived on Monday are going to make the biggest impact for us?
Arrived on Monday, or we're here in the spring?
Well, just the
transfers coming in.
Transfers coming in, yeah.
You would love for Josh Kelly to make a big impact. Mm-hmm. He would have been your best wide receiver last year, I think, coming in from Washington State. He is going to be a big, dynamic receiver for you, a starter inside. And a lot of people, I think, expect Micah Hudson to come in and be that guy. It's going to be Josh Kelly in year one, I believe, if everything goes correctly, because you'd still like Mike Hudson to be the guy, but Josh Kelly to be that bridge for him to not have to take all the pressure in year one.
Yeah, it seems like a lot has been put on his shoulders, especially for a guy that's coming off of a knee injury and surgery as well. Yep. So there's going to be some overcoming of that, not only the rehab of the knee, but just the mental aspect of that as well.
Caleb Douglas also listed as a starter from Florida, coming in at wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see if he stays a starter, plays those reps. Jalen Conyers, the tight end from Arizona State, potentially, Chuck, could be the weapon X of your offense. There were times at Arizona State where he was the number one option, the number one wide receiver, the number one tight end, whatever he was the guy. And he played quarterback, their Wildcat quarterback. So everything that you thought Donovan Smith might be able to do before he left, where you kind of got that going toward the end of the season where he was catching passes out of the backfield and then lining up at quarterback in the goal line situations, you might have an opportunity for Jalen Conyers to do some of that, which would be very exciting to me because I like players who could do more than one thing. And you know Joey McGuire likes it.
Sure.
Zach Kitley likes it. They're going to play 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks if they can. That's what they've done the last couple of years.
Just because that's the way it is.
Sure, why not?
Okay, so there's 3.
Offensive line, you might have 2 starting transfers. Sterling Porter at left tackle and Vinny Scurry at one of the guard spots. You could potentially have 3 or 4 transfers starting depending on everything that goes on. There's the Carter kid from Memphis too. Obviously Cameron Brown, the quarterback. I hope he's not an impact player this year. I hope Aaron Morton is the impact player at quarterback, but Cameron Brown is the next guy.
Let's say Morton is healthy.
Uh-huh.
How much will they use him on 3rd and long kind of opportunities or 3rd and short kind of opportunities, or where you're going to try to maybe run the ball a little bit and get behind that offensive line?
Yeah, if they're not using Jalen Conyers. Yeah. I think there's certainly an opportunity for, especially on 4th down. Hey, it's 4th and 1. Joey McGuire's going for it. He just spent some time with Campbell in Detroit. They're going for it on 4th down even more this year, I'm sure.
How do you feel about that?
About the analytics model that says go for it on 4th down?
Yeah.
I like it. I am frustrated by it in certain situations. But if the analytical model is to go for it, then go for it.
Where's the line that you draw where you just go, okay, what are we doing? Is it 4th and 3 from your own 29? Where?
Yeah. Inside your own 40.
Inside your own 40.
Yeah.
Well, we went for it a number of times inside your own 40.
There was one really frustrating one that was on like the 33.
Yeah.
That I remember that. But if you're going to go for it on the other side of the field, you might as well go for it on your side of the field. You just have to stop them. And in that particular instance, you didn't stop them, and they scored afterwards, which feels like a backbreaker.
And sometimes it feels like you're making decisions on the ball game, and let's just say in the 3rd quarter, all right, or maybe on your first possession, maybe the second possession of the second half, where you feel like you don't need to make a game-determining decision right then and there. Let's say you're down 7, okay, and you make that call. And if it blows up on you, well, all of a sudden you're down by 14 as opposed to punting and getting a defensive stop and then flipping the field on somebody. I think that's what frustrates me as a fan.
Yeah, the thing is you have to make the stop either way.
I understand that, but I mean, it's a heck of a lot easier to stop them when they're inside the 20 than when you're giving up the ball at midfield, because then you're basically
in field goal range. Yeah,
a couple of plays you're in field goal range at the very least.
Yeah.
All right. Is the offense, because last year Coach McGuire said, and he said it on this show too, that he felt like the offensive line would be a strength. Now, you could probably make the case that the offensive line was better than it's been, and in certain cases that it was a strength, but in some aspects, pass blocking, it was not.
Yeah, it's hard to say it wasn't a strength because you had Taj Brooks do what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But if you dig into Taj Brooks' numbers a little bit, he had a ton of broken tackles. He had a ton of yards after contact. It really was Taj Brooks being an incredible running back last year. Not so much the offensive line just creating gaping holes. They did do a pretty good job, a decent job run blocking, certainly, to get to 1,000 yards and all of that. But I think the broken tackles numbers and the yards after contact numbers maybe speak to that a little bit. But you're going to have transfers in there. You're going to have a guy that's played left tackle for, 50 games, and Caleb Rogers playing guard. You're going to have a brand new center in Sheridan Wilson. But potentially 3 transfers coming in means you needed the talent influx.
All right, so how about defensively? What are we going to see different defensively, or who can make an immediate impact for you defensively?
You're going to have a lot of new players playing defensively, but I don't know that they're going to be transfers. A.J. McCarty was here last year. He didn't play from Baylor. He'll probably be a starter. Devin Cromwell from the University of Guelph. Have you heard of this?
No.
Canadian.
Is he the basketball player?
Canadian University. No, he's from Canada.
Okay.
I don't know what he'll be able to do, but to find a guy in Canada who tested athletically as he's tested is pretty insane, and a testament to what they're doing in their scouting department, that you're finding guys in Canada.
I mean, they're looking under a lot of rocks, aren't they?
They certainly are.
And they've really beefed up that analytic department, much more so than what it's ever been at Texas Tech, the analyst role.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, gentlemen, as we sit on the beginning of summer, we start thinking about football. And in the spirit of the Cleveland Indians manager, Lou Brown, we won a game yesterday. We won one today. That's called 2 in a row. We win one tomorrow. That's a winning streak. In 2022, Texas Tech football had a 4-game winning streak with KU, Iowa State, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss to end the season.
Wow.
In 2023, you had a 3-game winning streak. TCU, Kansas, and UCF. What will be the longest winning streak in 2024, and who will it include?
Rob, you want to go first?
5. And it will include ACU, Washington State, North Texas, Arizona State, and Cincinnati. If you beat Arizona, it could be 8, with Baylor and TCU on the horizon.
Before you go to Iowa State on the road.
Before you go to Iowa State on the road, yes.
So Snead was on here yesterday, and he didn't predict this. Okay, I want to make this clear. But he said he could make a case for winning all 12 games. Do you buy into some of that philosophy?
Individually, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about. Individually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Individually, yeah. I think, and looking at some of the models, the FPI and whatever else is out already, the SP Plus I don't believe is out yet, but You should be favored in 8 games, at least, going into the season.
I'm going to... Man, this is really stepping out on... I could step out on a limb, or I could go 2. Because, I mean, I know there's nobody from 1999 coming here unless a fan for North Texas. And I know there's nobody from that... Was it the... I'm trying to think for Leach. It was the... I don't know if it was 01 or 2000... where we should have lost in North Texas. But we didn't. Thank God for Kevin Curtis. And a ball that bounced your way on the east sideline. Because I feel like that you can beat Arizona on the road. I'm just real curious as to what their changes are going to be. I wish you were almost playing them a little bit earlier in the season. You know, with a coaching change, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to go 8. I'm going to go 8. ACU, Washington State, North Texas, Arizona State, Cincinnati, Arizona, Baylor, and TCU. I'll take you to November 2nd. Jeff?
I think 5's the right answer. And it'd be the first 5. The Abilene Christian, Washington State, North Texas, Arizona State, Cincinnati.
Hard to disagree with that.
But I'm not just 100% sold on Washington State as a win.
You said
that's the one I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Because it is your first road game, and you've had road struggles. I am not worried about Abilene Christian or North Texas. I'm just not. I know Chuck. I know why Chuck is. I get it. I'm not. I'm not anywhere close to that.
There's just some previous,
trauma,
right?
Yeah. They aren't them, and we aren't them, and everybody's moved on.
We said that with Leach's first game against them too,
and they won.
You won.
It was ugly.
You got lucky.
I don't care if it's ugly. An ugly win is better than a loss.
No doubt. Spike Dykes would still love to. He would have loved to have had an ugly win that day.
100%.
He might have kept his job. Man, how wild would that have been? Because Spike was a relatively young man. If we beat North Texas, Spike probably doesn't get fired because he was basically told at the end of that game, you're done. You're going to retire. You're either going to be fired or you're going to retire. I think that decision actually was made in the third quarter. Seriously.
Yeah.
And what if Spike had been retained? Like I said, a relatively young man. He was only like 61 at the time, and he was done coaching. And there's no Mike Leach era. How different would things be around here? Quite a bit.
Yeah, and where does Mike Leach land?
Yeah, right. I mean,
does he leave Oklahoma?
Right, because, I mean, I think everybody kind of went, what? I mean, there was a collective, what? We're doing what? We're hiring this guy? I mean, there wasn't like this, oh my God, Lafayette, we've arrived, Yeah, right. No.
Then the offensive staff that was put together is all dispersed too.
Right.
Holgerson, Briles.
Everybody.
Yeah. Interesting. I will say North Texas, you could make a conversation that it could be a trap game. Chandler Morris from TCU has gone to North Texas, but they lost a lot in the transfer portal. They got a lot in, but they lost a lot in the transfer portal. And they weren't very good last year. That's old Eric Morris, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he'll be plenty motivated. And it'll be his first time to be able to call plays inside Jones Stadium.
Yeah. True. That's true.
That was a little bit of a source of contention, I think, for him.
Yes, it was.
It goes back to my my two questions that were answered by Coach Kingsbury with one was with 3 letters and one was with 2, but it was the 2 shortest answers that he ever. I mean, he gave short answers too.
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself giving up play calling? No. Start of the next year. Are you going to call the plays this year? Yes. That was it.
Well, and there's another tie there for the second one, too. Is they were playing for the kicking game this weekend. Yes.
Strategy.
Yes, there is.
Strategy. Here's the other thing. This is a really, really, really good question because he was in town for a press conference. What if Rich Rodriguez's wife had liked Lubbock? What if there hadn't been a terrible comment made at a Red Raider Club luncheon? That could have set you back. Could who knows? Could have been very interesting. But because I think that Rich Rod would have headed off to West Virginia. He'd have been a David McWilliams, is what he would have been.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Rob Breaux in for Jamie Lent today. I'm Chuck Heinz. Jeff McGuire is with us as well, as per usual. Nice to have you alongside as well. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. As we look forward to hearing from you on the Visual Edge IT hotline as well. We come to you from our usual perch here inside the First United Bank studio. Thoughts and comments again on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. All right, we'll have Astro Baseball for you on the air tonight. They take on the Seattle Mariners, 8:10. And then 8:35, 8:40, first pitch from Seattle. You ever been to Seattle?
I've never been to Seattle.
Is that a place you'd like to go, or do you care?
If I was going for a baseball game, yeah, maybe.
You know, Rangers and the Diamondbacks will play at 1. We'll have that game for you on Double T 97.3. That's the broadcast time. First pitch at 1:35. Are the Rangers your baseball team?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Lifelong, you know.
Lifelong. Back to the ballpark in Arlington.
You know?
Yeah.
Or the original ballpark? The original?
Well, the one that was made in 93, I think.
Okay, so did you ever go to the old one?
No, well, I was born in 89.
Okay, so
if I did, I don't remember it.
You missed it. Okay. Man, everybody keeps getting younger. 89. Wow. 89. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Good morning, men. That from Flyover Guy. He's a pilot. Okay. Somebody says this with regard to our question of the day. The length of the football win streak is tied to the health of Baron Morton. You buy into that? You don't really buy into that, do you?
If the win streak is 8, it would be tied into it. But I don't think you lose to North Texas if Baron Morton can't play against North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you lose to some of these early, or like Cincinnati. I think your backup quarterback could beat Cincinnati. I think you're good enough elsewhere.
Okay. All right, let's get to this is an article from CBS Sports. Admittedly, I don't have a problem with gambling. I'm just not a guy that really studies it and understands all the different things. Okay?
Sure.
So I'm going to lean on you. This is your forte, right? One of them. You have many fortes, right?
I'm aware of sports gambling, yes.
Yeah. No, I'm aware of it. I mean, just sometimes I don't totally understand it.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the odds, and you tell me what you think about them. This is from CBS Sports. I don't know if you've seen this or not. Let's see if there's any other. It's an article that was written by Shannon Jarajaya. Okay, this is as best as I can close as I can come.
Yeah, that's close. Shahan. Yeah.
Shahan. You know him?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wears like paisley suits.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we've had him on our show before.
Okay. He has Kansas State at plus 350 and Utah at plus 350. Would you be surprised if somebody other than those two teams played for or were the Big 12 champion?
Surprised? No, I think those are the two odds-on favorites. I'm a little intrigued to see how Utah fits in and plays and can play a full schedule. Not that the Pac-12 last year wasn't a good league. They were a pretty good league. They're the best they'd been in 5 or 6 years last year. But I'm very intrigued on how Utah does. Utah's either going to come in and dominate or in year one and then maybe settle back into the pack, or I think they'll struggle in year one because of it's a new conference and they don't know every team. But I would say, yes, those should be the favorites,
okay.
Utah and Kansas State.
So the plus 350, like, dumb that down for me.
If you bet $100, you make $350.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
They have Kansas at plus 650, and they have Kansas listed as third. Is Kansas getting way more love than they should?
That's a good question.
Because it sure feels like it to me. It sure feels like that they're the team that the prognosticators really feel like is going to do, and there's reason for it. And with the offense that they're returning, defense is still suspect. I don't know that anybody has really talked about the fact that they're not going to have any home games at all next year in Lawrence. There will be virtually no atmosphere at Arrowhead, where they're going to play their Big 12 games, and they're going to play, I think, at least one, if not two, of their non-conference games at a soccer stadium.
Yep.
Not that Memorial Stadium was any kind of den of demons or anything like that.
Sure, but it's been sold out the last 2 years.
They've had great crowds. They've had good crowds. I wouldn't call it ferocious crowds. I'd call it, hey, there's a KU football game going on. We might actually win. So in addition to tailgating and drinking a few beers on the hill, we're going to go inside the stadium and see what's going on.
There aren't shots of a lady crocheting in section 222
no.
like there had been in previous years.
Sure.
Kansas offense could be good, great. They lost their offensive coordinator, so we'll see how they can see if they can do the same things they were doing, because they were really good at creating mismatches. Is Jay Daniels going to play? Is his back ever going to be not cramping? Or whatever was going on last year?
You could make the case for them that their quarterback is more critical,
yes,
than Baron Morton.
Yeah, I think so.
Because more revolves around him with his legs and his arm and just his athleticism.
Yeah, they put a lot on him. And defensively, they're not good yet. They're not deep enough defensively to be competitive in the Big 12 week in and week out.
I just, without even looking at their schedule and telling you, trying to break it down game by game, which we're not going to do, I think they'll struggle to win 7 games.
Yeah, which is still good for Kansas.
Yes, no, I think
absolutely.
Most people would have, but they're gonna start getting spoiled up there, thinking that they're something. All right, Arizona is listed as 4th at plus 750. Then Texas Tech and Iowa State at plus 1,000. So they have Tech 1, 2, 3 tied for 5th with Iowa State. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think that's really good value for Iowa State. I think that's a little overvalued for Kansas and Arizona. And with Texas Tech's schedule, I think that's right where they should be.
Okay.
I think you should be a top 5 team with this schedule, if not higher.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.